Japan is one of the world's largest economies, yet some of its most interesting lessons about money begin with surprisingly ordinary things. A notebook, a repaired chair, or simply waiting until tomorrow before buying something you suddenly want today. None of these habits looks like a shortcut to wealth, and perhaps that is exactly the point. Because financial stability is rarely created by one dramatic decision. More often, it grows quietly from hundreds of small choices that barely seem important at the time. Of course, not every Japanese person handles money in the same way. Japan has overspending, waste, debt, and financial anxiety, just like other countries. But there are several ideas associated with Japanese household life that offer a very different way of thinking about money. They emphasize using what you already have, well, reducing waste, and paying attention instead of chasing excitement or perfect budgets. And none of these ideas requires a Japanese salary or a minimalist apartment. You also do not need much money to begin. You could try the first one tonight. Here are 7 Japanese-inspired money habits that may help you build a calmer and stronger financial life over time. Habit 1. Kakebo. Know where your money is actually going. There is a Japanese household budgeting method called Kakebo. At first glance, it seems almost too simple. Instead of depending entirely on an app that automatically categorizes everything, you deliberately record your income, expenses, savings goals, and spending. The notebook matters because it creates a deliberate moment of awareness around your money. Imagine that you reach the end of another month and wonder where your money went. There was no expensive vacation, new television, or enormous emergency. Yet somehow, the account balance is much lower than you expected. Usually, money does not disappear in one dramatic moment. It leaks through unplanned coffee, delivery fees, forgotten subscriptions, sale items, and small purchases made after difficult days. Individually, none of them seems dangerous. Together, they may tell a completely different story. Kakebo encourages you to look at that story. Before thinking about complicated investments or ambitious financial goals, begin with a more uncomfortable question. What am I actually doing with the money I already earn? Try writing down your spending for 1 week, simply because spending becomes easier to control once it stops being invisible. This does not mean every coffee is bad or that enjoyment is irresponsible. And when you want something that was not planned, ask yourself a few questions. Do I genuinely need this? And do I already own something that solves the same problem? Can I comfortably afford it right now? And will I still be glad I bought it a month from now? Suppose you see a beautiful handbag online, it is discounted, and the website says only 3 are left. The website is quietly telling you that if you do not buy it immediately, you may regret it forever. That feeling is exactly what modern shopping is designed to create. But once you stop and write the purchase down before making it, the emotional temperature changes. You may still buy the bag, and that is fine. Kakebo is not about never buying beautiful things. It makes sure your money follows your decisions instead of your impulses. That small distinction can change an entire financial life. Habit 2. Save before your lifestyle expands. Many people think saving works like this. Income arrives, bills get paid, groceries are purchased, and you go out a few times. Then something unexpected happens, or perhaps you reward yourself because the month was exhausting. Whatever remains at the end becomes savings. The problem is obvious because very often nothing remains. A more useful approach is to reverse the order. Decide what should be protected first, then build the rest of the month around what remains. It might be 5% of your income, 10%, or a very small amount while you are dealing with higher expenses. The exact percentage matters less than creating the habit, because there is another financial problem that appears when life gets better. Lifestyle expansion means you earn a little more, so your spending quietly becomes a little more expensive too. The inexpensive lunch becomes the convenient lunch, the ordinary skincare product becomes premium, and the older phone suddenly feels embarrassing. The perfectly good apartment begins to feel too small. Soon, the raise that was supposed to make life easier has disappeared. There is nothing wrong with improving your life when your income improves. The danger appears when every increase in income automatically becomes an increase in consumption. Try creating a small gap. Whenever your income rises, allow part of your lifestyle to improve, but send another part towards your future. That money might build savings or an emergency reserve, repay debt, support retirement, or fund an appropriate long-term investment for your circumstances. This is not exciting, and you probably will not tell your friends about the money you did not spend. Nobody will compliment you on the upgraded phone you decided not to buy. But financial security often grows in exactly those invisible spaces. Habit 3. Buy less, use longer. There is a mistake hidden inside the word cheap. We often assume the least expensive item is automatically the most economical. It is not always true. The real question is how much value you receive over the entire life of the thing. Imagine 2 pairs of shoes. One costs $30 and becomes uncomfortable or damaged after a few months. The other costs $90 but fits properly and lasts for several years. The second pair is more expensive at the checkout, but it may be cheaper every time you actually wear it. This does not mean expensive products are always better. A luxury label can be overpriced, while an inexpensive product can be excellent. The useful habit is simply to stop judging price in isolation. Ask about durability, repairability, how often you will use it, and whether it works with things you already own. Also ask whether you need the object or simply enjoy the feeling of purchasing something new. This principle becomes especially powerful with clothing. Many wardrobes are full, yet their owners still feel they have nothing to wear. Often the problem is not too little clothing. It is too many disconnected purchases. One blouse only works with one skirt, while some beautiful shoes hurt after 20 minutes. A jacket may be heavily discounted, even though the color matches almost nothing else. The money was spent, but very little usefulness was purchased. Buying fewer things can create room to choose more carefully. You might choose a coat you genuinely enjoy, a pan that lasts, or a bag that fits your actual daily life. You might also keep a piece of furniture worth repairing instead of replacing. So ask a better financial question. How long will this purchase continue giving something back to me? Habit 4. Put time between desire and purchase. This may be the simplest habit in the entire video. When you want something you did not plan to buy, do not immediately say no. Say, "Not today." That difference matters because strict deprivation often creates resistance. Tell yourself you can never buy anything enjoyable, and eventually budgeting starts to feel like punishment. But delay is different. You are not forbidden from buying the item. You are simply giving the excitement time to become information. For an inexpensive, non-essential purchase, you might wait 24 hours. For a larger purchase, wait several days. For something very expensive, perhaps much longer. Put it on a list, close the browser, go home, and see whether you still want it after the excitement disappears. You may be surprised by how many urgent desires quietly die overnight. Modern shopping has become extraordinarily efficient. You can see something, want it, finance it, buy it, and receive confirmation within minutes. Convenience removed many of the small barriers that once existed between desire and payment. That is useful when you genuinely need something, but it can be expensive when you do not. So create your own barrier. Give yourself one night, one walk around the block, one conversation with yourself, or one line in a notebook. Suppose you are tired after work and see an advertisement for a new kitchen appliance. The video makes cooking look effortless. For 10 minutes, you can imagine a completely improved version of your life. You picture a cleaner kitchen, beautiful breakfasts, healthier meals, and maybe even a different version of yourself. But tomorrow morning, you remember the appliance already sitting unused in the cupboard. The desire was real, but the need was not. Waiting does not make life smaller. Sometimes it simply separates what you truly value from what briefly caught your attention. Habit 5. Invest in your capacity before your image. There are purchases that make you look more successful, and there are purchases that may quietly make you more capable. They are not always the same. A new phone is visible, while a course is not. Designer clothes are visible, while the book you read every evening is not. A luxury car can communicate success immediately. Learning a skill may take months before anyone notices. And yet, over a long enough period, your capabilities can become some of the most valuable things you possess. Think of a skill that could make your work easier or more valuable. That might be writing, communication, a language, technology, negotiation, management, cooking, repair, financial literacy, or another practical skill. Or it could mean learning how to use a tool that saves you several hours every week. This does not mean you should buy every online course advertised to you. Education can also become a form of consumption. Some people collect courses exactly the way others collect shoes. The important question is whether you will actually use what you learn. Before paying for something designed mainly to signal success, consider asking a different question. Could this money improve my ability to earn, save, create, or live well? Sometimes the answer will still be the beautiful object. Life is not an endless productivity contest, but occasionally, the same amount of money can buy something much more durable than status. It can buy competence, and a useful skill may continue paying you back long after you forget what it originally cost. Habit 6. Remember Mottainai. There is a Japanese expression that captures something deeper than ordinary frugality. Mottainai. It is often used when something valuable is being wasted before its usefulness has been fully appreciated. That value might be found in food, materials, time, objects, or other resources. The idea asks a simple question: are we wasting something that still has value? And there is an important distinction here. Mottainai is a cultural ideal, not proof that Japan has somehow eliminated waste. Japan still throws away millions of tons of edible food. Japanese consumers still replace products and buy things they do not need. The interesting part is the principle itself, because much of our financial waste happens long after the moment of purchase. We buy too much food, forget what is in the refrigerator, or replace furniture that could have been repaired. We may neglect clothes, keep forgotten subscriptions, or replace electronics because the new model looks more exciting. Every one of these decisions looks small, but each says the same thing. Something we already paid for did not deliver its full value. Try walking through your home with that idea. Do this as an owner, trying to use things well, rather than as a minimalist trying to throw everything away. Ask what food should be eaten soon, what clothing needs repair, and which subscription is no longer useful. Notice what product you are about to replace, even though it still works. Look for the half-used bottle you forgot was in the bathroom cabinet. You may discover that saving money does not always require finding a cheaper place to shop. Sometimes it requires shopping less because you finally notice how much you already have. There is something calming about this. Your home stops becoming a temporary station where objects constantly enter and leave. You begin to care for things, use them fully, repair them when reasonable, and replace them when replacement actually makes sense. Respect for possessions can become respect for the money and work that brought those possessions into your life. Habit 7. Choose long-term stability over short-term excitement. One interesting feature of Japanese household finance has historically been a strong preference for cash and deposits compared with riskier financial assets. That cautious approach has disadvantages as well as advantages, and it should not automatically be copied. But it points toward a useful psychological question. How much financial excitement do we actually need? Money becomes dangerous when we expect it to entertain us. We start chasing exciting investments, sudden opportunities, popular products, unusually fast returns, or the feeling that everyone else is getting rich. Long-term financial progress usually looks much less dramatic. Your emergency fund grows slightly, debt gets smaller, retirement contributions continue, and a useful investment is left alone. Another unnecessary purchase is avoided, and nothing seems to happen. Then years pass, and suddenly all those boring decisions have become something substantial. Imagine two people receive the same unexpected bonus. The first person feels that because the money was unexpected, it can be spent without consequence. They might choose a weekend away, a new device, or several purchases that had been sitting on a wish list. There is nothing inherently wrong with any of those choices. The second person does something different. She enjoys part of the money, saves part, and perhaps uses another part to reduce debt or improve something important. Both people enjoyed some part of life differently, but only the second choice lets today's good fortune support tomorrow as well. That is a powerful financial habit. Whenever extra money arrives, ask yourself how much should improve your life today and how much should improve your life later. You do not need to choose completely between the present and the future. A healthy financial life has room for both. And perhaps that is the deeper lesson connecting all 7 habits. Good money management means spending deliberately rather than proving discipline by refusing to spend. Kakebo asks you to notice where your money goes. Saving first protects part of your future before the month consumes it. Buying less and using longer asks you to judge value beyond the price tag. Waiting before purchasing gives emotion enough time to cool down. Investing in your capabilities can create value that lasts longer than status. Mottainai reminds you not to waste what you already paid for. And thinking long-term helps today's decisions continue working for you tomorrow. None of these habits will make you rich overnight, which is probably why they are useful. They do not depend on predicting the stock market or require a huge salary. They do not promise that one clever trick will transform your life. They simply reduce the number of times money disappears without making your life meaningfully better. And over 10 or 20 years, that can matter enormously. There is also another benefit that is harder to measure: calm. Financial strength includes being able to open a bill without fear and having something available when the refrigerator suddenly stops working. It means knowing one difficult month will not immediately become a crisis. It means being able to say no to something you cannot comfortably afford. And it means being able to say yes to something meaningful because you planned for it. I think this may be the most overlooked part of living carefully with money. We often imagine wealth as the freedom to buy more, but perhaps another form of wealth is needing fewer purchases to feel that your life is enough. So do not try all 7 habits tomorrow. Choose one for the next 30 days. Write down every non-essential purchase before you make it, or automatically protect a small amount when your income arrives. You could wait 24 hours before buying something unplanned, or try repairing one object you would normally replace. Then watch what happens to your bank balance, and more importantly, to the way you think. Because the biggest financial change may not begin when you earn more money. It may begin when the money you already have stops disappearing without your permission. Which of these 7 habits would make the biggest difference in your life right now?